What's up, guys? Today we're going to be making an application in Unity that has Google sign-in functionality. This process can be confusing if you've never done it before, but in this video I break it down into a couple straightforward, easy to follow along steps, so by the end of this video you will have a professional looking Google sign-in function. So let's get started. So the first thing that we're going to do is open up our Unity Hub. Create a new project. We're going to choose the 3D mobile template. The name of your application doesn't matter. It won't affect the app that we're making. I do highly recommend using the Unity version control, as it could save you a headache in the future. Alright, so we're now in the Unity editor, and as you can see, my build settings window is already open. I'm just going to close it in case it's not open for you, and I'm going to show you where to find it. Open up build settings and let's switch our app to an Android build. Okay, so we've done that. I'm going to come over and I'm just going to clear these errors. I wouldn't worry about these if you get the same errors that I got. These can come up whenever you're doing transitions between different types of builds. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to rename our scene to Google Sign-In. After that, we're going to start making the actual interface of our sign-in application. First, make a canvas. This is going to be the actual screen that we're using to display both of our layouts of our application, both login and the profile screen. Set the UI scale mode to scale with screen size, and then set match to height. After that, we're going to come up here and switch to the game tab, then change the aspect ratio to 16:9. Next, we're going to go grab our actual Google sign-in buttons. A link to this will be in the description of the video, and I'll also put a link to it in the Google Drive folder that I'll share with this video. I'm not doing anything here, I'm just looking through all the options that this package comes with. Extract these files somewhere on your computer or into your Unity project, and then let's go ahead and let's make a folder for our art assets to help us stay organized as we make the application. My first time recording this, I put my 2D folder in the scenes folder on accident. I would recommend that you actually put your 2D folder in the assets folder, like you can see on screen now. Now we're going to make the login screen. Make a UI panel and name it login panel. Then make a UI image and call it top bar. The login panel object is going to be our background, so let's set the opacity to full and just choose whatever background color you like. Also, change the image source to none. If you leave it as is, it won't fill the entire area that we want filled. Go to your top bar object and set its color however you like. Drag it to the top of your app and then widen it so it stretches across the top. Then click on the anchor settings and alt-click the middle top option. Come over to the sidebar again and duplicate your top bar. You can do this by pressing Ctrl D. Name this bottom bar. Drag it to the bottom and anchor it to the bottom with alt-click. Create a text mesh pro object and import the TMP essentials. To keep our project cleaner, you can also just delete the tutorial and the README that comes with the Essentials package. That way, everything in our application is just the files of our app. Change the color so you can see it against the background here. Change the text so it says login, and center it so it sits neatly within its bounding box. Drag it up to the top up here. Let's also make a Text Mesh Pro button, and let's name it Login Button. Change the text so it's blank. Next, you'll want to choose both of the images that we imported earlier. Change their texture type to Sprite, 2D, and UI. If we don't change this, then we can't set the button's graphic to being either of these images that we downloaded. From here, drag the image over the source image option, set native size, and more importantly, preserve the aspect, and then just resize it how you like, and let's put it in the middle. Make another UI image, and this time drag the circle-shaped Google image onto the image source. Click Preserve Aspect and adjust the layout until you're happy with the arrangement. You'll want to have it set now, because if you get it right the first time, then what you can do is you can just duplicate this login page for the profile page, and then that way you know it'll match exactly and it'll just look a little bit more professional. I'm taking a second here to make sure that I really like it, and I'm also taking a second to make sure that the top and bottom bars stretch correctly to fill the screen with different screen sizes. Here you can actually see that I had it set wrong. So let's go back to our anchor settings, and the mistake that I made was I had chosen just the middle center anchoring option. You'll want to choose the stretch option. So for the top bar, choose top stretch. For the bottom bar, choose bottom stretch. And I always like to alt click. Whenever I click these, it just makes sure that it's actually at the very top or at the very bottom. Next, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to collapse the login panel and then duplicate it. Make sure you hide the login panel because we're going to be working on the profile panel. So rename the duplicate login panel to profile panel. Then go into the title object and set the text to say profile. And as part of the files that are going to be included with this video, I'm going to include a version of the Google sign-in button that doesn't have any text or logo in it. And we're going to be able to use this to make our logout button. Just like with the first two images that we imported, make sure that you change the texture type to Sprite, 2D, and UI. That way we can use it on our button. Alright, and then let's come over to this button and let's drag that image on there. And let's change the text so that it says logout. The next thing that we're going to do is add the full name and email fields. So come over here and create another UI text TMP object, and go ahead and name this email. And then we'll move this over here. We'll change the text so it says email, and we'll change the color as well so you can see it against the background. As always, make sure you center the alignment, and then once you get this set, let's duplicate it, and this will be our full name field. Now let's move the email field below the full name field and change the text on the full name field so it says full name. Next, let's come over here again and right click on our objects over here and choose Create Empty. And we're going to name this Google Authentication. After that, we're also going to want to come over here and create a folder, and let's name it Scripts. After you make the folder, open it up and right click in the empty space in that folder, make a C# script. And we're going to name this script Google Authentication. Now, if you added Unity version control to your project at the start, what I would do is I'd come over here and I would check in these changes. So I would just type in UI finished. This is very useful because the Google SDK, it's very possible that when you try to import this, it will break your app. Now, if you do it right, everything will be fine, but if you do it wrong, no big deal. As long as you check in your changes to Unity version control, you can just revert it back. But we've made good progress. The UI is completely finished. What we're going to do now is we're going to go online and we're going to actually get that Google Sign-In SDK. So what we'll do is just come up here and type in Google Sign-In Unity SDK. And what we're looking for is a Google GitHub repository. So click on this link right here. And as with everything else in this video, I will include a direct link in a folder. So you don't have to look this up, but this is how I found it. And then when we're in here, just click on the Google Sign-In plugin 1.0.4 Unity package. We're going to download that. Once you've downloaded it, drag and drop it into our assets folder and just press import. Let it load for a second and then we should be good. When we first import it, there will be a lot of errors. I wouldn't worry about that. The next step we're going to take is we're going to fix these errors. So go down to your assets folder, go to parse and plugins, and then we are going to uncheck the any platform box, and we're going to uncheck every box that becomes available after we uncheck that. Make sure you press apply, and also make sure you do it on both of the files in this folder. After you do that, you'll notice that most of our errors have gone away. The next thing that we're going to do is go to the Play Services Resolver, and we're going to delete that. After we delete that, you'll notice that all of our console errors are gone. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to get the Unity jar resolver from another GitHub repository. Now for me, it was a little bit difficult for me to find the specific package I wanted to download from this repo. So what I did was I typed in external-dependency in the search bar up here. And the top result, if you do that, should be the latest Unity package. So click on that, and then it'll take us to this page. Come over here and press download raw file. And just like with the Google SDK that we downloaded, you're just going to drop this into your assets folder. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to set up our Google Cloud Console. So let's go to their website. And the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to create a new project. And just give it any name that you feel describes your project and press create. After it's done loading, go to APIs and services. Go to credentials, and we're going to create a couple different credentials. So first, create an API key. Go back up to create credentials, create an OAuth client ID. And we're going to create a couple OAuth client IDs. But before we can do that, you're going to get this message saying that we have to configure our consent screen. So let's do that. And when we're in here, let's choose external. After that, it's going to ask us for an app name. Again, just put something that you feel describes the application that you're making. After that, user support email. Just put your email in there. You're also going to have to put developer contact information. So for email addresses, I would just put your own email again. And then just press save and continue. That should take us to the scopes screen. Press the add or remove scopes button. Choose email and profile scopes. That's what we're going to be getting in this app. Is we'll get their full name, which is part of their profile. We're going to get their email, and then we're also going to be able to download their profile picture. So choose those scopes, then come down here and press update. Scroll down to the bottom and press save and continue. From the test users screen, press add users, and again, just put the same email. Press add, then press save and continue. That'll take us to the summary page, and then just go back to dashboard. From the dashboard, go back to credentials, press create credentials, and let's make that OAuth client ID. Now that we have our consent forms configured, it'll ask us what application type we want to create an OAuth client ID for. Choose web application, and then press create. Now we're going to create another credential. It's also going to be an OAuth client ID, but for the application type, choose Android. Now it's going to ask us for our package name, so let's go back to Unity and let's go grab that. We're going to go to Build Settings, Player Settings, and while we're in here, we're going to configure a couple other settings as well. For the purpose of this app, let's set our default orientation to portrait. Then down here, let's check the override default package name box. This is just going to make it easier for us to copy the package name and paste it in our Google Cloud settings. So copy it and then paste it on package name. Now the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to get the SHA-1 certificate fingerprint. This fingerprint is required to add Google authentication to an app because it's used to verify the authenticity of an application. However, before we do that, let's finish configuring a couple other settings in our project settings. We're going to want to change our scripting backend to IL2CPP. Then come down here and under Target Architectures, check ARM64 as one of your options. Now let's scroll down a little bit lower and click on Publishing Settings. And let's open our Key Store Manager. From the Key Store Manager, let's go up to this Key Store option, press Create New, and let's choose Anywhere. The default name should be user, and the default location should just be within our application. So let's just leave these defaults and press Save. Then let's come over here and set our password. We're also going to have to set our alias and our other password down here. I just chose user. It doesn't have to match the name of our key store like I've done here, but I just set it to user to be simple, and I've also set the password to match. That way I just have to remember one. Then let's come down here and press add key. It's going to ask us if we want to set these as our project key store and key. Let's press yes. Next, let's go down to our search bar and let's open up our command prompt. Once we've got that opened, let's go back to our Google Cloud Console and copy the command that they have here. We're going to put this in our command prompt, but first let's put it into a notepad document because we're going to modify the path in this command. Then go back to our Unity project. we're going to want to find our assets folder, right click on some empty space in that folder and go to show in Explorer. Now all we really need from this place is the file path for our user.keystore, which you can see in this folder. So go up to the URL in the top, copy that. Then let's go back to our Notepad document where it says path to debug or production keystore. You're going to want to highlight that. We're just going to paste the location of our keystore right on top of that. Sorry about the cut right there. I didn't do anything. It's still just pasted on there. I just widened the notepad. We're also going to want to add the name of the file in this directory as well. So make sure you do a backslash and then type, if you chose the same name as me, you would just type user.keystore. And one last thing, make sure you add quotation marks on the path to your keystore. I've seen it work for other people without them, but for me, I cannot get the SHA-1 key without these quotations. So make sure you include that. And this is what you're going to want to copy. This is what we're going to paste in our command prompt. So copy it and just paste that into your command prompt. You can see I had a couple failed attempts earlier. It was the lack of quotation marks that was keeping me up. You'll see in a lot of tutorials elsewhere that you have to do some CDs or extra steps to get this to work. For me, all I have to do is I just pull up my command prompt. As long as I paste this in here, that's really all it is, because it has the path in the command, so there's no need to do anything else. It's just really simple. Pull up the command prompt and paste this in here and you will get that SHA-1 key. The only thing you have to do before you'll get that key is you have to enter your keystore password. The confusing part about this is it doesn't actually show what you're typing. It doesn't even show any asterisks. It just looks blank. Just type in your password and press enter. It will work and it'll give you all the information that you need for the Google authentication. And as you can see here, we have the SHA-1 key. So let's copy this. Let's go back to our Google Cloud and let's paste it into the certificate field. You can see that here I tried to verify the app ownership. That didn't work because it's not currently a Google Play Store application, so you can skip that. And let's just go down to create. Now you can see that we've successfully created both an API key, an Android client ID, and a web client ID. Now let's go back to create credentials and let's create a service account. And you can name this service account whatever you like. Also for the service account description, just put whatever you like. Press create and continue. And then we don't need anything on this screen, just press done. Now go back to your Unity app. We can close all these different settings menus, go to our assets, and go to the scripts folder, and open up the Google authentication script that we made earlier. I'm going to include the code for this script in a Google Drive document with this video. I'm not going to actually explain how this code works because in my opinion, the best way that you can actually learn this is with ChatGPT. It'll go as deep into it as you ask it to go, and in my opinion, it's much better at explaining existing code than it even is writing code from scratch. So if you don't understand the code that I've given you, go over it with GPT. For the purpose of this video though, to keep it brief, I'm going to keep things moving. What I am going to show you guys is we're going to go over how to actually connect the different objects in your Unity project to the script. So go to your Google authentication object and drag the Google authentication script we've made onto that object. Now most of this should be pretty simple. We're going to drag our full name object to our username field in our script, our email object to our email field, profile pic to profile pic, login panel to login panel, and profile panel to the profile panel. So pretty straightforward. There's one more field that we have to assign, which is the web client ID. I didn't actually have this field made yet in the video, which is fine because you guys are actually going to have to go into the script and change this in your project as well. So go back to your Google Cloud Console and copy the web client ID. Go to your Google authentication script and paste that as the value of the web client ID. Now I'm going to go into our Google authentication script and I'm going to write the rest of the code because I need to have the on sign in and on sign out methods written before I can show you guys the next step, which is assigning your login and logout buttons. So you can see here real quick, I'm just renaming the login button in the profile panel screen to logout button. This is because if we're in the profile screen, that means that we're already logged in. So we wouldn't need a login button, we would need the logout button instead. So I'm just renaming that. Then go over to onClick and press the plus sign. Drag the Google authentication object onto the object field. Set it to trigger the on sign out method from our script. Then go to the login button in the login panel. And we're going to do the same thing. Go to onClick, press the plus sign. Drag the Google authentication object into the object field. And set the function to the on sign in function. Next, we're going to go to build settings, player settings, and real quick, we're going to set the default icon for the app to the Google sign-in logo. This will be your app's logo on your phone. After that, let's press build and run. Now, I'm getting a cannot sign the application error. That's because I haven't made this tutorial in one day. I've opened and closed Unity, so you shouldn't get this error. What we want to see is this: no adaptive performance provider found. So let's press go to settings, which should take us to the adaptive performance screen. Now you're going to press the checkbox on every option in providers. For me, it started with Samsung, but then once you click that, you'll see other options come up, so make sure you click on all of them. At some point, you should see a box that says Enable Android Auto Resolution. This just makes sure that you have all the dependencies that you need so that you can compile your app and run it on your phone without any issues. So make sure you press Enable, otherwise you will have to go manually run the resolution using the external dependency manager, but if we enable it here, then we should be good to go. After that, feel free to close all of your windows that are on top of your Unity project, and let's press build and run. Now you'll see I still have the cannot sign the application error. Whether or not you are getting this right now, it's important that you understand what to do in this situation, because if you close the app and you try to come back to it later, you're gonna get this error when you try to actually make a new build. And this is because of our key store settings. So resolving this is actually very easy. What we're going to do is we're going to go to build settings, player settings, and where it says custom key store, right underneath path, you're going to want to put the password that you set for that key store earlier. You're also going to want to go down to project key and enter the password that you put for your alias. After that, you should be good to go. So press build and run again if your phone is plugged in. If your phone isn't plugged in and you're just going to email it to yourself, press build. Unfortunately, my phone's plug-in jack is a little messed up, so you can see I gave it a couple tries. trying to send it to my phone directly, but I ended up having to do build myself, and I'm just going to email it to my phone. After that, we have a working build, except now I'm noticing that I forgot to disable the profile panel, and I also forgot to enable the login panel. This isn't going to work because the app needs to start on the login panel. So let's fix that. And let's try making another build. Now at this point I have already tested the app. There was one other thing that we missed. Technically it works, but I'm going to show you guys a trick to make it look a little bit nicer. What I noticed is if the email is too long, then it just goes right past the edges of the application. It looks really bad. So what we're going to do is we're going to adjust the bounding box for our full name and our email on the profile layout. And what you're going for is you want it to be as wide as you want it to possibly be. And make sure it's still centered, that way it looks nice. Then come down here and click auto size. Now we're going to do it for both the full name and the email, and the option that you want to make sure you mark is you want to set the max auto size option to the size that we originally chose for the text. After that, the app is done. So let's make another build and let's check it out. So I'm on my phone and you can see we have our app here. So let's open it up and that'll take us to our login screen. So let's press sign in with Google, and you can see that it brings up all the accounts that we have on our phone. And if we click one, it brings up our profile picture, our full name, and our email. But there you have it. The app is done. You got the Google sign in. You can sign out. You can choose from any Google account saved on someone's phone. And if you wanted to, you could integrate this into a game. Let's say you wanted to store someone's progress and link it to a specific email. Well, then you just have to link it to the email that they're now sharing it with you. There's many applications you could use this for, but we will leave it there. And I hope this helped you guys. For me, this was something that was really difficult for me to implement my first time. This is actually my second time doing it, so I hope it helped. I really tried to streamline everything. I've seen other tutorials on this where they overcomplicated certain steps or included extra steps that don't need to be there, and that made it a lot harder for me to figure out how to do this. It was also difficult because it seems that there's not a lot of examples of how to do this with a voiceover, so I hope this was easy for you to follow and that you were able to make the app that you want to make. If you have any questions, leave a comment. Hope this helped you. Thanks for watching.